Welcome to Captives Over Cocktails, the only place where we serve up complex funding strategies with a twist of lime and a splash of attitude.
We're your hosts. I'm Lydia.
And I'm Ashley. And we're here to break down the world of captives. No jargon, no fluff, just real talk about what's working, what's not, and what you actually need to know to win in this space.
So think of this as your insider happy hour. Whether you're a seasoned broker, a captive curious advisor, or just here for the vibes, we've got something for you.
So grab a drink, turn up the volume, and let's dive into the stories, strategies, and straight up truths that are reshaping the funding landscape.
This is Captives Over Cocktails. Cheers. Everyone, welcome back. Today we're going to talk about what is a captive and why brokers should care. So Ashley, care to take us away?
Sure, let's start. A captive is a way, in essence, for employers to take more control over their healthcare spend without going at it kind of completely alone. So instead of paying a fully insured carrier and losing all control, employers pool their resources with like-minded groups, share risk intelligently, and then when things go well, they keep the savings. So it's kind of like moving out of a giant apartment building where the rent just keeps going up and you have no control, to buying a home in a neighborhood where the homeowners actually care and you help make decisions, you invest in the upkeep of the neighborhood, and when things go well, you benefit, not some landlord that you never met.
Right. All right. So who should really be considering a captive?
Yeah, so captives, I talk about this all the time. Captives are a game changer for this middle market at this point. Typically kind of those employers with 50 to 500 employees. So those are the groups that are really tired of those double-digit, fully insured renewals and one-size-fits-all or one-size-fits-none level-funded plans. Those are the employers that want control, clarity, and a real path to kind of managing healthcare costs, not just reacting to them. It used to be for those bigger employers. That's what captives are like. Typically, people think that it's for, 500 to 1,300 or something like that. But truly, at this point, there's solutions for that 50 to 500 space.
Okay, so let's say a group is interested. What are the moving parts of a captive and what actually makes up a captive?
Yeah, so here's where captives are different, right? A fully insured plan, you see it, it's in the box, it's kind of cookie cutter. You don't know what the components are of a plan. When you come over to the captive side, it's truly unbundled, is what you hear in the industry all the time. So a captive is something that has components that you build to fit the employer, not something you just buy off the shelf. And there's a couple pieces. We can go through what those foundational pieces are. So there's stop loss insurance, which is kind of a backboard to protect you against catastrophic claims. The key there is like the things that are very large to make sure that you don't blow out your budget. Third-party administrators or TPAs, they handle the day-to-day claims and plan operations. And you've got a network, right? You got to decide that controls where employees can get care and at what cost. Then you have this thing called a PBM. So pharmacy benefit manager, that manages how the prescriptions are handled and priced. And then you've got cost management vendors, another portion. Those are programs that target high cost areas like MSK, dialysis, imaging, cancer. Those are the things that you're going to use in your captive plan to control the claims and keep them down. So you can kind of beat that trend, so to speak. And then you've got a captive manager. So I think of them like the general contractor of the plan. They bring it all together, making sure the whole thing runs efficiently, and they're generally setting the strategy for the captive as a whole. I did a LinkedIn post on this the other day. It's the difference between a good captive manager, right? Is the difference between kind of that investment banker sitting in your strip mall and like a Merrill Lynch who's truly managing your money. And that's how I think of like a good captive manager. So we offer structure, we build risk strategy around the goals of the captive, etc. So those are the big components.
Big components, but let's talk about the one that tends to spook people. Collateral. What is it and why should brokers not be afraid of it?
Yeah, so it is the one word that spooks people. Collateral is the employer's financial commitment to the captive. So think of it like a security deposit or a down payment for your home. It's there to help a captive pay claims if things tend to go south. Pretty rare, but it happens. It's typically around 10 to 12% of expected claims for an employer. And here's the important part, I think, about collateral is that it usually sits in a separate protected account And it's either returned if the group performs well, so you can get a return on that, or they, when they leave the captive, they can take it with them. Or, you can, as that captive, collectively decide what to do with that, whether you reinvest it to lower premiums next year, etc. So the key is transparency about collateral. You should ask where it's held, how is it calculated, when can it be returned? And a strong captive partner will walk you through all of that up front, no surprises. There's also many ways to pay collateral. So it's not, don't think like I just have to strike this very large check at the beginning to get access to the exclusive captive club. There's lots of ways to pay it. We have some really unique ways at ClearPoint that I think remove that barrier to entry, maybe an episode for another day. But it's not as scary as it sounds.
Okay, that's good to know. So when thinking about not as scary as it sounds, what are some other of the biggest myths around captives? What are the biggest misconceptions that you hear about captives? We're both in market a lot. Tell me what you're hearing.
Yeah, so 3 of them for me, kind of come up all the time. So 1, captives are too complicated. I mean, because I just talked to you, right, about the unbundling, and there's a lot of pieces, and how do I make the decision on all of those? And so sure, there are moving parts, but any good health plan has complexity, and quite frankly, your fully insured plan has complexity. You just don't know about it, and you can make no decisions around those pieces. So a well-run captive makes the complexity kind of invisible to that employer. You're giving them better results without the added stress, because you should have a really good benefit advisor partner, and the captive is going to make it really clear the pathway through kind of the decisions that you make when you join a captive. Second one being captives are too risky. It's actually the opposite. Captive pools that are kind of engaging accountable employers and use stop loss insurance to catch the big stuff, those are actually more stable than the fully insured market, because you're not carrying the dead weight of employers not actively managing their plans. The last one being my group isn't big enough. We talked about this earlier. So they used to be reserved for those Fortune 500 companies who had a lot of cash flow. They could all band together. Today, groups, like I said, with as few as 50 lives can join. So thanks to smarter structures, better underwriting, more flexibility, even AI underwriting, even IMQs, right? So individual kind of medical questionnaires. There's ways to find out about your risk and then price it appropriately. So yeah, bottom line, when captives are built and managed correctly, often more predictable, more transparent, and much more rewarding than those traditional options.
All right, good to know. So last thing, if I am a broker and I want to start exploring captives for my clients, where do I even start? What are the conversations that I need to start having?
Yeah, I think you start by identifying people who are frustrated with the status quo, especially those who are getting hit with those 10 to 20% renewals every year. But better yet, honestly, those who are actually performing well and could be performing even better if they had access to claims data and a community. So often you hear brokers be like, well, last ditch attempt, we'll put it in a captive. And I'm like, that's actually not the time to join a captive.
Right, exactly.
It's when you're running poorly, right?
Right.
Also an employer who's asking for more control or visibility into costs. So that HR leader, that CFO is like, well, why is this going up? It's obviously not just trend. And then people who are willing to take ownership over outcomes, even just a little bit. So you can truly ask questions. And I think 3 ones that you can go into your employers and ask, and these are the ones that I used when I was a broker, is, are you ready to have more control over healthcare spend, even if it means taking on a little more responsibility and having harder conversations to get there? Would you be willing to engage with partners who can help manage risk if it meant long-term savings and stability? And then 3, if you could be rewarded for actively managing claims and driving better outcomes, would you be up for the challenge? So if they say yes, that's a captive conversation in my mind waiting to happen.
Awesome. Well, thank you. Glad we share our captives over cocktails, and I'm really glad that you could take some time to explain and demystify the structure of captives and how a benefit advisor can really engage in that conversation. So if you remember nothing else, captives aren't just about shifting costs. They're about creating a better system, one where good behavior, smart decisions, and engaged employers actually get rewarded.
Yep. And if you want to see what that looks like in action, we are happy to share examples, happy to have conversations. So catch us next time when we bring on our first guest and an industry tycoon to dive into why brokers need to jump on the alternative funding bandwagon or get left behind.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Cheers.
Cheers, Lydia.